Hello and welcome. This video is a quest guide on the Grandmaster quest The Brink of Extinction. It's a relatively short quest. It can be done in about 1 hour. You'll need a rune pick, 6 open inventory slots, and it's preferred to have a melee, range, and mage switch. Armor is optional for those. Now I'm using Void to show that you don't really need defense as long as you know what to do. To start the quest, use your Tokuzo to teleport to the main plaza. Talk to the person there and he'll ask for your assistance. Accept the quest and spacebar through the rest of the chat. You'll be given an orb that you can communicate with, and just spacebar through the rest of the chat. And you're tasked with gathering the total of previous champions and gathering 3 Gauls. After you're finished with the chat, run east and you'll enter a cutscene. You can just spacebar through the entire chat. When you're done with the cutscene, run northeast and talk to the mage over there. Spacebar through the first part of the chat, then choose the 4th option, spacebar again, and then choose the 1st option. When you're done chatting with them, use your Tokuzo to teleport to the fight kiln, and then run south and chip away at the statue with your pickaxe. You will receive 5 fragments, and hold on to these, then run southwest towards the entrance of the Sever city. And chip away at the statue at the entrance. You'll receive another 5 fragments from that. Then use your Tokuzo to teleport back to the main plaza. Run southeast to the furnace and smelt the fragments into the tokos. So now that you have all 3 tokos, you want to head northwest and gather all 3 Gauls. There will be one northwest against the north wall. Speak to the Gaul and have him return to the main plaza. And then teleport to the fight pits. And then run north. And look for the cooking pot icon on the map. There will be a Gaul right there. Once you've talked to him, run south. And there will be the last Gaul that you need to talk to. Once you've talked to all 3 to return to the main plaza, teleport to the main plaza and talk to the Sever there. Finish up the conversation, you'll be redirected to talk to him inside the fight kiln. So use the Tokuzo to teleport to the fight kiln. Click enter, don't right click, just click enter and choose Brink of Extinction. You'll enter a very long dialogue. Just spacebar through it. Several options will pop up during the conversation, but just choose any, it doesn't matter which one you choose. Finish up your chat and you'll be tasked to hunt down the Gaul Zox. And to find them, just follow where I'm going on the map. Basically, you want to go to the far eastern side of the map, and when you hit a fork in the road, you want to keep going northeast. Once you have found the entrance of the cave, there won't be an enter option. So activate your communication orb, and then the option should be there. So this will start the combat and puzzle part of the quest. It would be very beneficial to have a melee, range, and mage style on you. Enter the cave when you're ready. 5 level 122 birds will spawn. They're pretty weak and they're weak to stab, but any melee ability is fine. Just use basic abilities on them. They should die fairly quick. I'll cover combat more in depth when it's more important. So when they're dead, run north, take the weapons off the scale, put the Abi sword on the right scale and the Abi knife on the left scale, then proceed to the next cave. At the start of the next cave, 2 level 124 melees will spawn. They're weak to magic spells, water spells. So if you brought a 2-handed weapon, kill the 2 large 124s first, then use your 2-handed threshold ability Hurricane to hit all the small 124s at once. After killing the small 124s, a large 180 ranger will spawn. He is weak to melee, but slash works the best. And the level 122 bird is weak to stab. Once you've killed the monsters, run north. You'll see 3 statues. You want to rearrange these to follow the combat triangle. The arrows will turn purple when they are positioned correctly. So just finish rearranging them. It should look something like this at the end. Remember to investigate the bookshelves in the northwest side of the room before continuing through the cave. Each room you complete will be saved, so if you have to go bank, there's a banker outside the cave. The next part gets more dangerous, so bring a shield if you're not so confident about combat. In the next room, you'll enter to fight Cauldron. There are 9 squares in the room. Keep an eye on the squares itself. When it turns red, run off it as soon as you can. If you stay on the red squares, it'll burn you for 1500 damage. At the start, 4 melee monsters will spawn. Just pray melee and just mage these monsters. Heal if you need to, run off to the side so that only one of them can attack you, and make sure to not stand on any red squares. Now you want to save up 75% of your adrenaline bar for the next wave. Once you've killed the last melee, have your range gear out. 1 mage and 2 rangers will spawn. Use the threshold ability Rapid Fire on the mage to kill it quickly. Then proceed to melee the last 2 rings. Make sure to avoid the red squares whenever possible. In the next wave, a Takar champion will spawn. Pray melee and use impact to stun him so you can mage him from afar. It has a chance to miss, so don't worry if it does not stun him. Then use basic magic abilities, use Asphixiate as often as possible, and defense abilities if you need to keep your HP high, as well as avoiding the red squares. Once you've killed him, remember to pick up the Obby Maul that he drops. Go place it on the scale outside the Cauldron. Put on your range gear and pray magic and proceed to the next room. You'll be greeted by several small 148 mages. Just pray mage and range them individually. Use the basic ability Ricochet to hit multiple targets, as well as the threshold ability Bombardment to hit multiple monsters around your target. Once the level 148s are dead, run north, pick up all the weapons on the ground, and to solve this puzzle, match the weapon that the statue is holding by placing it on the scale. So starting on the southwest scale, going clockwise, put the obsidian staff, then the obsidian sword, obsidian mace, and then the obsidian throwing ring. In the next room, 3 level 122 bats will spawn. They're weak to stab. Just melee them, it's pretty easy. Once you've killed the bats, a large 184 melee will spawn with 2 mages. Just walk around the mages so that the mages are between you and the large 184 melee. And then just range the remaining mages. Once the mages are dead, lure the large 184 around a rock and mage it from afar. Once the large 184 melee is dead, run north, search the bookcase, go through the chat. Then in the middle, it's basically a Simon Says puzzle. Click on the pedestal in the order that it lights up. Do this 8 times in a row to open the door. For the next part, you're going to go back into the fight cauldron, so bank if you need to. In the first wave, 4 small melees will spawn. Pray melee and mage them. Dragon Breath is a good AoE ability to hit multiple targets. And remember to keep dodging the red squares. Now before finishing the wave, you want to have at least around 75% adrenaline for the second wave. On the second wave, 2 mages will spawn with 1 melee. If you're in D'hide, pray melee. Use the threshold rapid fire on one of the mages to kill it quickly, and then use the basic ability Fragmentation on the second mage. Once the mage is dead, use mage on the remaining melee and avoid the red square. Before killing the last melee monster, you want to have about 75% adrenaline for the next wave. On the third wave, pray range, and use the threshold ability rapid fire on the mage. Then melee the remaining 2 rangers while avoiding the red squares. And on the last wave, 2 Takara champions will spawn. Try to stand on one side of them so that only one champion can attack you at one time. And only attack one at a time, because if you attack one then attack the other, the first one will be out of combat and it will start healing to full HP. Use magic abilities like Asphixiate as often as possible and make sure to avoid the red squares. Once you've killed the last champion, it will drop an obsidian mace. Pick it up and exit the cauldron, place it on the scales, and proceed to the next room. In the next room, 3 level 124 melees will spawn. They're weak to magic, but melee has a pretty good AoE ability like with a two-hander. Once you've killed the melees, head north, pick up everything off the ground, inspect the scales to see what to put on them, Xil for sword, Mage for staff, Ket/her for mace, and Ket for maul. For the next room, 3 small 148 mages will spawn. Do not use any threshold abilities on this. You want to have at least 50% adrenaline before killing the last mage. Upon killing the last mage, a large 190 mage will spawn. Use the threshold ability rapid fire to kill it very quickly. Once the mage is dead, simply mage the remaining 2 melee monsters to finish the combat portion of this room. Proceed north to the puzzle, rotate the pieces to look like the Tsar symbol, and it should look something like this by the end. Then proceed north to the final boss fight of the quest. Bank if you need to, stock up on supplies, and you'll most likely need some kind of food for this part. Melee or mage is preferred. Mage armor has good melee defense, but melee is able to do a lot more damage with a two-handed weapon. 2 prayer potions should be enough for the fight, as well as any combat potions you may have. It is advised to bring some kind of melee item to kill the single ranger in the cauldron. When you're done banking, speak to Galzox. Help him activate the mechanism and you'll be forced to face the Takar Hawk himself. He has no weaknesses. His basic attacks will drain your prayers, so bring prayer pots if you need. You will need to pray melee throughout the fight, so keep your prayer points high. During the fight, a large 184 ranger will spawn. Kill him to minimize the damage that you would take. Once the ranger is dead, focus on using any stun abilities you have on the boss. It stops him from healing when he hits half HP, but it's just good to keep on stunning him. If you brought a two-handed sword like I did, you want to focus on using Assault and Slaughter whenever you can, but you want to save up for Berserker, which doubles the damage you do, but also doubles the damage that you would take. So make sure you heal up to full HP before using Berserk. Now you don't have to kill the melees that spawn, just focus on killing the boss. After using Berserk, you want to remember to stun the boss when you can. Work your way up to a threshold so that you can use the ability Assault while your Berserk is still active. This will allow your Assault to hit 6,000s each hit. Then repeat this pattern till he's dead. If Berserk is on cooldown, just use any threshold abilities till Berserk is ready to use. Upon killing the boss, speak to Galzox. Choose the first option. After finishing your chat, exit the fight cauldron, proceed north. Activate your orb to contact the Tsar Mage Jet. spacebar through the chat to tell him to meet you in the Elder Kiln. Then click on the entrance to the fight kiln, but choose to click to enter and choose the option Brink of Extinction. Spacebar through the entire chat if you wish. This is the last part of the quest, and the options you choose here don't really matter. It's quite a long dialogue, but eventually you'll get to a cutscene where you bid farewell to Galzox. And you'll be awarded a ceremony and become an honorary Tazar. For completing the quest, you get 3 quest points, access to obsidian armor, and the Tazar title, as well as the fight Cauldron, which is pretty decent combat XP per hour. So that's all for this video. I hope this guide has been helpful. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.